Okay, so we're going to be going over our lesson on the Virginia Executive Branch today. So I'm going to be reading through the PowerPoint. You guys are going to follow along on your VA executive notes. So pause this video, open up your Virginia executive notes. Now we'll open up the PowerPoint. So Virginia's executive branch, thankfully, is set up just like the U.S. executive branch. The executive branch of the Virginia state government enforces the laws and plays a key role in the policy-making process. So, just like the president, the governor of Virginia enforces the laws, also with the help of the regulatory agencies, departments, cabinet secretaries, and he has a key role in policy-making. All this power for the governor of the General Assembly, it comes from the Virginia Constitution. The executive branch influences policymaking in three different ways. The first is by proposing the biennial budget. So the budget for Virginia is written every 2 years. It includes money for things like teacher pay, roads, hospitals, tourism, all those people who work for the state. And of course, if there's no money for a project, that's a way to influence it. Give more money to things you want to see have policies written, and then take money away from things that are deemed less important by the governor. But he also proposes legislation, and like the president, he gives an annual State of the Commonwealth address where he'll propose and set forth a legislative agenda and what he wants to see, and we'll talk a little bit about why the General Assembly will listen to them in a minute. And then also just by approving, vetoing, and line item vetoing bills. So a line item veto is when you can cross out just one part and say, no, this part sucks, and I'm not going to approve this part. Or you can approve the whole one, or they can veto the whole bill. Of course, obviously, that's influential because approving those bills or vetoing them affects the laws that go into effect. So to enforce the laws of Virginia, he has the help of cabinet secretaries, departments, and regulatory boards like the Virginia Department of Education and a few others. They help administer laws and enforce laws because the governor is not going around to every single school in Virginia to see if we're following the SOL standards. That's the job of the Virginia Department of Education. And we create regulations to monitor aspects of business and economy, and they provide services. And like the president, the governor fills the following roles. The chief of state, which means he's the ceremonial head of state of the state government. So when something happens, like a foreign dignitary comes or the president comes to visit, they'll usually host said person. The chief legislator, so they're the proposer of the legislative agenda. He suggests laws to the General Assembly he would like to see passed. He acts as the chief executive, head of the executive branch, so he's in charge of the day-to-day business. And he is the party chief, the leader of the political party that controls the executive branch. This is why he is able to act as the proposer of the legislative agenda, the chief legislator, as well as influencing policymaking, because we live in a two-party system. Primarily, the people in each party are going to be expected to follow what the head of their party, whether it's state or locally or nationally, they're expected to listen to what their party chief says. So right now we have Governor Ralph Northam, the state's top Democrat. We do have an election this year though, so that might change. I don't know, man, but some of those candidates look like they got mug shots instead of profile pictures. Ooh. And then Commander-in-Chief, he's the head of the Armed Forces of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So if there's a natural disaster that requires the National Guard, he'd be the one to deploy them. And then the chief citizen, he's the representative of all Virginians. You should serve as a role model, a good role model. Okay, so hopefully you're filling out your notes as we went through this, and then you have 2 more assignments. Make sure you do the warm-up, which is a review on the Virginia General Assembly. Context is important, y'all. When we talk about the General Assembly in this class, we are talking about the Virginia General Assembly. We're not talking about the UN General Assembly. We're not talking about the French one. No matter what Google says, you guys got to learn context. We're talking about the Virginia General Assembly, but that's a lot to say, so we will just say General Assembly. Context, we're talking about Virginia state government, so we're talking about the Virginia General Assembly. So make sure you did that warm-up, and then you have a reading. You're gonna read the document, which is right here. Then you're gonna answer the questions that go along with the document. And that's it for today.